Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for lending me your ears. Today, I want to talk about incremental gains. In other words, achieving your goals slowly. Now, I was reading a book, and I've been reading several books, rather, on habits. How do you grow? How do you grow your business, and how do you do it? And one of the things that's really becoming clear to me is that one of the best ways to really view goals is goal is an outcome, and the things we do to get there, the process, the systems we use, are incremental gains. And it was really driven home when I heard the following story. The British cycling team was having a hard time winning gold medals or even the Tour de France. In 2003, they hired a gentleman by the name of Dave Brailsford, to come in and really work with the team. 2003, to give you an idea of how bad the cycling team, the bicycle team was, they had not won a gold medal since 1908. Okay, since 1908 is 2003, you can run the numbers. And in the 110-year history of the Tour de France, they had not won once. In fact, their record was so bad that bike manufacturers refused to sell them bikes. So well-known bike manufacturers didn't want to sell them bikes because, nobody wants to be associated with a losing team. So enter this gentleman by the name of Dave Brailsford. He comes in with this philosophy, and it's a really powerful philosophy that he calls the aggregation of marginal gains. The aggregation of marginal gains. And basically it means, how do you find these small improvements, these small margins of improvement in all the things you do in order to achieve a goal? In other words, how can we improve on all the small things, and in the aggregate, in the sum, it'll add up to something. Said another way, if we can find a 1% improvement in everything that we do, these 1% will begin to add up, and that is the aggregate of marginal gains. So he started looking at the bicycling team and then said, where can we begin? And then he began to look at all the small things, everything that had to do with cycling. He began to look at and ask himself this question: where can we improve? In fact, the whole team began to think that way. Where can we improve? Even if it's a marginal improvement, where can we improve? And, they looked at things like redesigning the bike seat for comfort, right? So they redesigned the bike seat for comfort. They even looked at, shorts that were electrically heated so that the muscles will maintain a certain temperature in order to achieve high performance. They even used, sensors, during the workout to monitor performance to find out, again, what workouts were working, which ones weren't. They tested different fabrics, what was lighter, what was more aerodynamic. They even tested massage gels for faster muscle recovery. They even taught riders the appropriate way to wash their hands so they can reduce getting sick. Makes total sense. And this one blew my mind. They brought with them the riders' mattresses and pillows. In other words, the mattress is already formed to the actual bicyclist, right? So basically, by bringing their mattress, they'll sleep better in their own mattress. So they brought along the mattress and the pillow. One scenario talked about how they painted the floor of the truck white, where they carry all the bikes. Like that, they could identify if there was any dust in the truck that would actually affect or hinder the bike's performance. You start to get the idea. They even rubbed alcohol on the tires so the tires could have better grip. All these little things were achieving marginal gains, but in the aggregate, summed up all together, it began to make a difference. So in 2003, Dave Brailsford comes in, and guess what? By 2008, when they went to the Olympics, they had won 60% of the Olympic gold medals in road and track. So now they were winning in the Olympics, but it gets better. In 2012, Bradley Wiggins, now Sir Bradley Wiggins, was the first British cyclist to win the Tour de France. So again, Dave comes in 2003, Dave Brailsford, and in 2012, they win the first Tour de France. And in between that, they were winning gold medals like crazy. But not only did they win the Tour de France in 2012, they won it in 2013, they did it in 2014, they did it win in 2015, they won in 2016, they won in 2017. In 6 years, they won 5 Tour de France, and in that same period, they won 66 gold medals. Now think about this for a second. All this because of little improvements in their process. Now, how does this apply to you? Think about sales, or even think about management and leadership. But more specifically, let's talk about sales. How can you begin to improve a little bit every day? Let's look at cold calling. Maybe you can look at cold calling and says, where can I improve in cold calling? Maybe I need to use some new technology. Maybe I need to eliminate something. Maybe I need to change the script. Maybe I need to do something different, call at a different time, call a different day during the week, whatever it may be. What little things can we begin doing in cold calling that will give us that aggregate of marginal gain? And then let's look at our presentations. Again, what can we do to improve our presentation? Maybe we just need to talk slower. Maybe we need to engage the customer more when we actually do a product demo. Maybe we need to do longer product demos. In other words, look for places that you can improve in every aspect. And it may not seem like you're improving, but over time, as Dave Brailsford puts it, there's an aggregate of marginal gains, which means that little by little over time, most people, because they don't see the results right away, give up because they think nothing's working. But like anything else in life, all these small improvements help over time. And you just have to have the faith that all these small improvements actually help. But see, we've been conditioned. We've all heard Anthony Robbins. I'm a big fan of Anthony Robbins. And he says, I quote, "The path to success is to take massive, determined action." That's a Tony Robbins line. The path to success is to take massive, determined action. And when I first heard that statement, I'm like, yes, take massive action. Take massive action. But these studies that are coming out now that talk about the aggregate of marginal gains, the 1% improvement here, the little improvement there, make me call into question not what the intent of the meaning is of what Tony Robbins is saying, but maybe instead of massive action, instead of just, like I said, let's find a way to take massive action, maybe what we need to do is look at these habits like it's compound interest, right? Like when you put money in the bank, over time it begins to build on itself, it begins to multiply. So maybe as we're doing all these small habits, it's like compound interest. It begins to multiply over time. So instead of maybe the path to massive, determined action, maybe we should change that phrase. Maybe I'll just rephrase it and call it my quote, that the path to success is to take massive, incremental actions. In other words, take massive, incremental actions. In other words, do a lot of little things every day to improve who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, and over time, you'll see the acceleration. Think of improving 1% every day. Think of that. If you improve 1% every day, then guess what? Let's say over 70 days, if you run the numbers, over 70 days, you're going to be 2x better. If you just run the numbers, you'll have to believe me, but you'll be 2x better because, again, the 1% improvement happens over time. What's even more amazing, if you think about it, is that as you're improving over time, what you're going to see is that all these things begin to kind of build on each other. Do you know what I mean? They just start to build on each other. So, for example, in 70 days, you'll be 2 times better if you do a 1% improvement every day. Within 232 days, you'll be 10x better. And at the end of 365 days, if you improve 1% every day, at the end of 1 year, you'll be 37 times better than you were the day you started. So think about this. As you're looking at your sales process, as you're looking at your management process, leadership, whatever process you need to look at, ask yourself, how can I begin to improve all aspects of what I do by 1%? And in the aggregate, you'll see your business and your sales begin to grow. And that is it for this Sales Influence podcast. Don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about massive action versus massive incremental actions over time. I want to get your opinion. Also, check out my online sales training platform. You know the deal, the Sales Velocity Academy. Go to salesvelocityacademy.com. Over 40 courses, 400 videos. If you want to sell more faster, go to salesvelocityacademy.com. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.